Hey WME, this is Mrs. Carey, and I wanted to share another reading tip with you guys this week. So last week we talked about choosing just right books, which is really important when you're choosing books because you want to make sure that you're getting a book that's on your level. You don't want it to be too easy. You don't want it to be too hard. You want it to be just right for you, which kind of brings us to another problem. Sometimes you're at a bookshelf and you're really not even sure what you want to read. You're not really sure what types of books are even interesting to you. So I just wanted to give you a little tip here. Books are broken down into specific categories called genres, and it's spelled G-E-N-R-E. And a genre is just basically a category of a style of writing, a type of book. They all kind of have different characteristics. So today what I wanted to do was show you some different books that fall into these different categories and give you a definition of what those categories mean. And hopefully by the end of this video, maybe you'll understand a little bit more about yourself as a reader and what kind of books you really gravitate towards. So I'm going to flip the camera over here. And you can see here, I've got all these books spread out on a bed. And I wanted to share with you what the definitions are and what books I chose to go into these categories. So the first one is realistic fiction. It's defined as a genre of stories that are made up, but could very well happen in real life. These stories are often take place in settings that are familiar to kids, which makes them more relatable. So I chose Wonder, Judy Blume, Double Fudge, and Wish Girl. Okay, I'm going to move on to my next category. So the next category is historical fiction. This is a genre of stories that really didn't happen, but are based on events in history. They're perfect for kids who love to explore the past and are often full of big adventure. Moving on to traditional literature. Traditional literature is defined as a genre in which stories are passed down from one generation to the next, such as tall tales, folk tales, fairy tales. And I chose, these are kind of a fun one. It's newfangled fairy tales. And so it's taking old fairy tales that you've heard, like Rapunzel or The Princess and the Pea or The Gingerbread Man, and it's twisting them and making them silly tales. It's taking like the main plot of the story, but it's changing the character. It's changing the outcome. It's kind of like a twisted tale. Those are really fun. Okay, then I'm going to move over to science fiction. So science fiction is defined as a genre of stories that are not very likely to happen in real life, but are generally set in the future, and they tie in with science and technology. So for that one, I chose A Wrinkle in Time. Then we're going to move on to a different genre that's kind of like science fiction, but it's fantasy. And so fantasy is defined as a genre of stories that are made up and include ideas that could not happen in real life, often involving magical or supernatural elements such as talking animals. So for this one, I chose Harry Potter and I chose Charlotte's Web. The next category is mystery. Mystery is defined as a genre of stories that involve a secret or crime that needs to be solved, usually by the end of the story. Because kids need to pay close attention to the details and follow cause and effect, mystery books can be a great way to boost comprehension and other literacy skills. For this one, I chose The Westing Game. Moving on to informational. So informational is defined as a type of nonfiction that provides factual information about a particular topic, such as sports, animals, or historic events. Moving on, and I chose the Ultimate Bugopedia. Lots of facts about bugs. Next one is biography, and biography is defined as an account of someone's life written by another person. These books are not only great for reading, but they're also great for inspiring. And this one, I did the Who Was Nikola Tesla. And then I'm going to move on to an autobiography. And an autobiography is defined as an account of someone's life written by that person. So auto means self. So autobiography is a self-written biography. So I chose The Diary of Anne Frank for that one. And then last but not least, we have poetry. And you might know that April was National Poetry Month. And so poetry is defined as a genre where there's verses that may or may not rhyme. They may have rhythm, they may not. And they're just written to evoke a particular feeling from the reader. So hopefully, let's just take a peek here. Hopefully after going through those categories and looking at some examples of books that maybe you've seen before at home, maybe they're on your teacher's bookshelf at school, now you kind of have an idea of what some different genres are, different categories of books, and maybe there are some that really jump out to you. You've read that book before, you've heard of that book, and maybe you can discover that you really do love fantasy, or you really are a history buff and you really love historical fiction. Or maybe you like realistic fiction because it just seems real and it's true and it could happen to you. So I hope this helped you a little bit and you enjoyed seeing some different books and learning about different genres of reading. See you later.